Hello, Stinkies. I am. My model is fucking huge. Holy shit. Hold on. Hello, Stinkies. I am. There we go. Okay. Let's see. We got 10 pixel. Is it 10? Hold on. Yes. I have 10 pixel icons I need to make for this one person. So let's get cracking. There they are. Okay. So we need this to be a 50 by 50. Here's a little reference. Get over here. Uh, Alright. All of the references. I want to do this tiny little guy first. So little. Okay. I was wondering why that looks okay. Right. Yeah. go. Ah, I think it's got little wings on it. It's cute. Little guy. Oh man. Hey, Samurai! Welcome in! Is that French? Thank you! I honestly didn't even know it was my affiliate anniversary. Ah. But yippee! That's too damn bad. Ah. Ah. Comment allez-vous? I know just a little bit. Not a lot, but I know some. I took French a little bit in middle school for like, I guess it would be the equivalent of like what, 2-3 months worth. I wish I could have taken more, but they only had it for that length of time. They didn't have like a full class for it. The main thing I took away from that class specifically was bleu, blanc, rouge. For fucking what do you call it? The flag. That's like the main thing I remember from that class. And then a few years ago I was like, I want to know a little more. So I picked up a bit of I can count to 10. I know the whole comment allez-vous, je m'appelle, du t'aime. Yeah, I don't know enough. Yeah, the 3 famous colors. I like Strome and Indila though. I do have them on my phone. I think they're the only French artists I have on my phone though. Yeah. Papa Ute and Aloha and Dance are like such a fucking bop, dude. And I wish Indila put out more, but she's only got like that one album. I think she put out another one. Oh wait, I also had Bibam Toi. That one was so good. I fucking love Bim Bam Toi. Is it Bim Bam Toi or is it Bim Bam Boom? No, it's Bim Bam Toi. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, and Dila's only put out the one album. I'm so sad about that. She's got such a good voice. Yeah. Okay. From Strome, I have Tafet, Papa Ute, Formidable, and Carmen. And Aloanda. Hey, hey! No chewing on the plants, little shit. Bum, 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 bum. Ah! Go sleep! You need your sleep. You don't need to be watching me. You need to go eepy. You better. Wait, let's see. What is it? Bonne nuit? Bonne nuit?
Bonne nuit.
Mais at bonne nuit? I don't know. I could be saying it wrong. Either way. The Google Translate could also be saying it wrong. Bonne nuit? Olive. Olive. I assume she's caught a toy, so she's meowing to, like, let us know that she has caught a toy. The Hydra is currently sleeping, so I don't need her going wow, wow at the top of her little kitten lungs. Olive! Olive! What did you catch? Olive, what did you catch? What did you catch? Olive? Maria, what did you catch? Come up here, you little shit. There we go. Just the leaf. Because they're little leaves, they should have little points. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Your girl is tired of Pokemon music. I want to listen to stories. I listen to music all day. I need story time. I have so much to catch up on. Oh my god.
Welcome to r/petty revenge, where OP gets revenge against his toxic ex-girlfriend. Our next Reddit post is from Jay Beckman. I had broken up with my ex about a year prior to this event, but she wouldn't move out. one excuse after another for a solid year, until one day, amidst yet another argument, she finally admitted that her plan was to stay indefinitely and threatened to claim domestic abuse if I did anything about it. That weekend, she decided to go out for one of her weekend vacations with a girlfriend. So I took advantage of the 48 hours I had and got to work reserving a storage unit and rented a moving truck. I worked around the clock loading that truck multiple times, only sleeping a few hours that entire weekend. She had hoarding tendencies that I had turned a blind eye to. I had to pick my battles, and it had gotten pretty far out of control. Not only did I make dozens of trips, but the storage unit itself was almost too small for it all. It was truly amazing how much stuff she had managed to pack floor to ceiling in multiple rooms, closets, and the garage despite living in the same house together for so long. I made sure that her laptop was the very first thing in the storage unit, all the way in the back corner, followed by all of her clothes. So much clothes. Then furniture, then all the meaningless hoarded junk. By the time that I was done, that storage unit was packed floor to ceiling to the point that I had to really Tetris the last couple of loads in there just to get the door shut. She was right at the end of the semester of school and not only needed the laptop first thing the next week, she was also planning on leaving for a cross-state road trip to visit her family. And everything she needed for that was at the very back. From what I heard, it took her and her friend the better part of the week to find that laptop and repack the storage units. She missed some important deadlines at school and delayed her family trip by a whole week, which messed up her other plans and wasted a few paid days off at work to boot. The best part came months later. You see, when she first came back from that little weekend vacation, I had asked her to sign a receipt to receive the key to the storage unit. She immediately refused, threw a fit, tried to steal my dog, which failed, tried breaking into my house while I was gone, then came back hours later with 6 cops in her wake. To this day, I don't know what lies she told them to get that entourage. But after I explained my side of the story, they realized it was just a civil matter and quickly left. The receipt I asked her to sign was simple enough, in that I offered to pay for the storage unit for 6 months if she signed it that day. But since she didn't, I removed my card from the account and put that unit in her name. Only problem was, the card she then put on file with them was an authorized user card linked to my account, which I promptly canceled. So then, she missed enough payments on the storage unit that they locked her out and she was never able to get the rest of her stuff before they presumably auctioned it all off. This reminds me of
Damn.
a news article I saw recently where a woman took her boyfriend to her storage unit and said that there was something in the very back that she needed him to get to. And so he crawled, over stuff into the back of the unit. And the woman just closed the door, locked it, said something like, "I'm breaking up with you," and then just left. And then
Bro,
apparently
what?
the guy was crawling around in total darkness for 3 days looking for his phone, which he dropped. And then finally found it and was able to call the cops and get them to come get him out. And I know what you're thinking, why would a phone still have charge after 3 days? And I don't know the answer to that, but I read the news article and I even heard the audio clip of the guy saying like, "Hey, I'm locked in this locker, please come get me out. I'm at such and such location." So I don't know how the guy still had battery left, but that's the story. Our next Reddit post is from Darling.
Bruh, the
So,
fuck?
I live in a wonderful mixed-use building, and it's been great. Lovely amenities and decent tenants, and even free electric car charging. This was simple and easy for the last 2 years. And then, out of nowhere, more and more Tesla people moved in, bringing their swastika cars with them. And I'm like, okay, it's like 20 electric vehicles sharing 4 chargers. No biggie, cause most tenants respect the building's 4-hour limit rule, which should bother no rational person that understands that not everything is about them. However, Tesla drivers are a different breed, and a few of them think that those rules don't apply to them. Whether it's because they have a bigger car, or they have kids, or whatever excuse they have for hogging the chargers day and night whenever they can. Yeah, they have bigger batteries and need longer charging, but 4-hour limit is 4-hour limit. It wouldn't be fair if someone in an on-site laundromat hogged all the washers and dryers all day long, would it? Who cares about the reasons for hogging the chargers? But wait, this gets interesting. So recently, the guest level parking charger stopped working. Something's wrong. Nobody can get it to work. Now we're down to just the one downstairs, and that's it. Remember, each charger has 2 points, so it's now 2 charging cables for over 20 electric vehicles, and some malicious Tesla drivers among them. I decided to leave a note one night on the charger itself because one malicious Tesla driver decided to charge both their cars the entire afternoon into the evening, taking up both chargers, which others needed to use to get to our jobs and whatnot. The note simply said that the 4-hour limit applies to everyone. However, the next morning I went to charge and I found the note ripped up with a portion left with a reply written, "Say it to my face." And since then, it's just been a race to the chargers before 4 p.m. to avoid the greedy Teslas who come and take them the whole afternoon and night. Sometimes they win, sometimes the rest of us do. More recently, someone else left a note as well addressing their behavior, saying, "Please consider other drivers need to use these too." And the reply left on it was, "I saw you on my cameras, LMAO. I won't consider anything." So I took this up to the top. I took the note and the photos of my ripped up note and sent them not only to the property manager, but to the regional manager for the property management company itself, who have many more buildings throughout the country. They got back to me and I informed them that not only was this charger not working and this hogging was happening, which was of mild concern, but then I decided to use my nuclear option and tell them that their EV chargers hadn't been charging anyone any money. This really got their attention, and I found out that they're about to replace these chargers entirely with new updated ChargePoint chargers that will start charging tenants money after 4 hours. Even if it's the customary $3 to $4 per hour, this will add up for the Teslas hogging the charger all day and overnight.
Good.
Now, you might be thinking this will affect me too, but my partner and I are dinks first of all, but also my EV doesn't take long, it's tiny. It only needs at most like 3.5 hours to charge to full usually. Basically, unless I'm an inconsiderate butthole, I won't get charged ever. Down in the comments, I'm our Dusser adds, "Here in London, the on-street car chargers charge a standard rate until your car is charged. But once your car stops charging while still plugged in, they charge £1 per minute." I don't drive an EV, but I imagine even the Porsche Taycan drivers don't like paying that £1 a minute. Just the other day, I was driving somewhere and the car in front of me was a Tesla, but the license plate said "Vote Dem" and there were a bunch of pro-Democrat bumper stickers. So I can only assume that this person bought their Tesla before, we learned about Musk's political stance. So I have to wonder how many other Democratic voters are out there who didn't know Musk was the way that he was, and then every day you get in your car and you're like, I wish I hadn't bought this thing. Our next Reddit post is from Kings of Dom. We've lived in our house for about 8 years in a rural neighborhood in Arizona. About a year ago, this dude from California bought the lot next to us and threw a fit about the stuff that we had on the property line. We had put a single fence pole vaguely where the property line was. We hadn't had any sort of survey done. It was supposed to just be a temporary marker that became a permanent marker. The dude was absolutely livid that we had vehicles parked on his property. The very tip of one of our cars was touching the established boundary. He threatened to have our vehicle towed. So we simply had an actual land survey done, and it turned out the property line was a good 20 inches into his property. Homeboy should have just let sleeping dogs lie and not been a butthole about a few inches. Hey, let's keep this in mind. When you're a butthole, a couple of inches can be a big deal. Our next Reddit post is from NetPastor. I have a pretty easy Google Voice number that people tend to use to make reservations. I've gotten hundreds over the years, and it's mildly annoying. There's usually a link to the confirmation text messages to cancel, which I always do on the day of the reservation. This last Tuesday, I got a text saying that my reservation was confirmed for today. Except I didn't make one and I don't live in that city. So I patiently waited to cancel it today. Today I got another text saying your reservation is at 6 p.m. Click the link to cancel. Well, bud, your girl's gonna be pissed you were too lazy to use your own phone number because tonight's reservation just got canceled. Happy Valentine's Day, chump. No Mexican food dinner for you. Down in the comments, we have this story from Altered Boy. My uncle ended up getting a takeaway place's old phone number. They couldn't be bothered reprinting the phone numbers with the new numbers, so he would get their phone orders. He asked them politely to change it. They were very rude and said they hadn't seen a decrease in orders, so they wouldn't. So he just started taking their orders. He would schedule pickup for all the customers at the same time, so they'd make a scene. They changed the menus pretty quickly after that. Our next Reddit post is from I Hate S'mores. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law are notoriously cheap, stingy, and manipulative. Other than that, they're as nice as could be. We have a big box membership, and both I and my husband, my brother-in-law's brother, have a card. One of them, my sister-in-law probably, asked to borrow his card to use at that store and then never returned it. Normally, who cares? I'm happy to share, but they're just so damn cheap and stingy that it started to bug me, so I asked for the card back saying that we needed it. She says sure, and she gives it to me. 4 to 5 months later, my husband asked for my card, and I asked where his is. Oh, I lent it to my sister. Uh-huh. Okay, plan B. Next time I was at their house, I offered to split the cost of the membership. At the time, that was $50 a year. Their response, oh, we really don't use it that much, but I'll talk to my husband. Uh-huh. Plan C, petty revenge. I logged in online and saw they were using it 1 to 2 times a month. Penny wise, pound foolish. F around and find out. I went to the store and asked for my membership to be canceled effective immediately. I told no one. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law went shopping, loaded everything on the belt, scanned the card, and they were presented with a renewal fee. Rather than pay it, they walked out. We never spoke about it, but my brother-in-law told my other brother-in-law who told me and just laughed. He and I are on the same page. Brings me such satisfaction to play out that scene in my head. Down in the comments, we have this story from Punk Linux. My ex had a family who were all on her Netflix account and were sharing it willy-nilly with their friends. She got locked out because there were more than 5 users, and someone deleted her profile, which pissed her off even more. So she canceled the account. Immediately, like within hours, her cousin called her and said there was something wrong with the account. Then 2 more relatives the same day, but she was at work and didn't answer. By the time she got off work, about 8 relatives were angry as hell. So she messed with them and said, works for me. She gave them her old login and password and said that it was working fine for her. One of them actually called Netflix, who told them the account was canceled. So they told everyone else on the group chat, and all hell broke loose. At some point, my cousin deduced the account was being shared between 15 people, and that's the one she knew about. Incredible. So she said, yeah, you guys shared too much and it got canceled. Thanks a lot. You really screwed us all over. So then they all started blaming one another, and my ex just giggled about how much her relatives squabbled over a $12.99 subscription. It became known as the Netflix situation. Her mom even got involved, trying to get her to uncancel it, and she played dumb, even saying they were going to take her to court, and she might go to jail for fraud. And
What?
all because everyone was so greedy. She said, if I go to jail, I'm going to name names. You'll all come with me. One panicked so bad, she threw out her TV. She had a really toxic family, but I'd be a liar if I didn't find that amusing at the time. Our next Reddit post is from Many More Ways. I was going through a security checkpoint line, and the line was getting long, and we have to bend around the corner so that we don't block foot traffic. Then, this old woman decided she was too good to walk around the corner and get in the back of the line, and just decided to cut right in front of me as I was passing the corner. I tried telling her the line was at the back nicely, but she literally just dropped her carry-on and walked to the front of the line to get to the security body check. She was probably thinking that we would just push her bags along. She technically didn't just cut in front of me, she was cutting in front of everyone while expecting us chums to push her bag through. I did initially push her bag for a while, but decided, screw it, and skipped her bags. The woman behind me saw what I did, and she skipped the bags too. When I got through the security check, I saw her anxiously looking around for her bag. She then approached me asking where her bag was. I simply told her she got the wrong person and walked away. OP should have gone even one step further and reported a suspicious abandoned bag to authorities.
Yeah.
Cavity search would make grandma learn her lesson.
That was r/petty revenge, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.
I mean, technically, he should have done that because you get a random bag just left beside you. You don't know what's in that. That should absolutely be reported.
Welcome to r/Am I the Butthole, where OP is almost murdered by her roommate. Am I the
What?
butthole for telling my roommate to move out after she risked my life to prove a point? I'm a 25-year-old woman and I have two roommates, Jenny and Abby. Jenny started noticing her food going missing and blamed both of us. I didn't eat any of her food, so I wasn't worried. Yesterday, Jenny called a roommate meeting, and when we were off work, she sat down and told Abby she wanted to be paid back for the food that's gone missing. Abby started arguing, saying it wasn't her, it was probably me. That's when Jenny said it couldn't have been me because she was putting nuts into her food and her stuff. Like food that doesn't even make sense to have nuts in it, because I'm severely allergic to them. She said I couldn't have done it because I'd be dead. She said it all proud, like she trapped Abby, but I literally felt sick. I could have died, like genuinely died. An EpiPen isn't a cure, you still have to go to the hospital and it's bad. Also, it's really expensive to replace them. Like, for $30 of food, she was willing to risk my life. She and I argued, and she said that she knew that it wasn't me, so that's why she did it, but I don't believe her. I told her to move out, and now Abby and Jenny are both mad at me. But it's my life. It's my
Yeah.
name on the apartment. I'm fairly certain I'm justified in kicking her out, but I'm
You
not sure.
are.
It feels absolutely insane that I could lose a friendship of 4 years to something that wasn't even my fault. Abby is pissed at me and says that I'm overreacting, but she also doesn't want to move out, so she's at least somewhat on my side. Jenny is angry and not speaking to me. I told her she has 30 days to get out of my place. Look, thievery is bad, right? We can all agree that stealing someone's stuff is wrong and they should be punished. Should they be punished by killing? Should they be punished with the death penalty? Probably not. So yeah, OP, I think your anger is completely justified here. I would kick both of them out. Abby for being a thief and Jenny for literally playing with your life here. I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. Abby gets 1 out of 5 buttholes for being a food thief, and Jenny gets, 2 out of 5 buttholes, I think. Am I the butthole for not explicitly stating that my punch is non-alcoholic? I'm a 25-year-old woman, and I recently attended a potluck-style work party and brought punch, which has since caused a problem between myself and another coworker who's 42, Sandy. Last week, my boss hosted a party at his house to celebrate the end of the busy season and a job well done. All of my coworkers and their spouses were invited, and we decided it would work well to do a potluck to offset the cost of feeding everyone, about 35 people. I volunteered to make punch that I brought to previous work events that everyone said they enjoyed, as well as some fruit to go with it. This was a casual party with alcohol present, but since I have some coworkers who don't drink, I didn't add any alcohol to this punch, and I figured that if people really wanted some, they would just add it themselves. Fast forward a couple of hours, and Sandy is getting even louder and more dramatic than normal, and is stumbling around the party. I didn't think much of it, and figured she brought her own drinks, or was adding some of the host's alcohol that was put out into something else. She suddenly fell off the chair that she was sitting on, and made a big show of saying that it's because she was so drunk. She then asked me, in front of the rest of the coworkers, what it was that I put in the punch. I was confused and told her what was in it. Ginger ale, 7-Up, orange juice, and a can of orange concentrate. And she wanted to know what alcohol I put in it because I've been drinking it all night and I'm really feeling it. I told her that I didn't put any alcohol in it, and I asked if maybe someone else had spiked the punch bowl, but nobody said they added anything. And one of my coworkers who doesn't drink even said that they'd also been drinking the punch all evening and was still completely sober. I also would like to clarify that I understand how context can matter. Like, if everyone else was really drunk, then that can make even a sober person feel like they're loaded. But that definitely was not the vibe. Sandy was the only person acting drunk. She then got really quiet and went by herself to the bathroom. The rest of my coworkers and I exchanged some awkward glances and tried to laugh it off. She left shortly after, and I received an angry text from her about how I shouldn't have embarrassed her like that, and that now she looks like an idiot in front of our bosses and the rest of our coworkers.
Well, yeah, you are an idiot.
At work ever since, and
The fuck?
basically refusing to talk to me. I don't think I did anything wrong, and most of my coworkers agree with me, but some say that I should have just let her go on thinking that the punch was alcoholic to save her the embarrassment, and I'm
Nah.
wondering now if I'm in the wrong.
She did that to herself.
A video game I used to play back in the day called Warcraft 3, and in that video game there was a unit called a Dryad. And it was basically, think like a centaur, like a half person, half horse, except instead of a half horse, it was a half deer. And if you click on these units enough, they tell a joke. And the Dryad's joke was, "I'm hunting humans. I'll use my human call. I'm so wasted. I'm so wasted." And I think that's probably what happened here. She wanted to act drunk for some sort of attention. Either she just wanted eyeballs on her, or she wanted people to hit on her. We'll never really know. But her stupid plan got revealed by her own stupidity. So, it's not your fault. Though I will say,
Nah.
down in the comments, people are saying that there is a placebo effect with alcohol, where if you give people non-alcoholic beverages and tell them that it's alcoholic, then they will apparently say they start to feel buzzed after a few drinks. Anyways, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes, and I'm giving your coworker 1 out of 5 buttholes because blaming you for her stupidity is just completely unfair.
Yeah.
Would I be the butthole if I left my fiance destitute? 2 days ago, I came back from basketball a little early. I heard my fiance, Jane, tell her friend that she's settling for me. This friend of hers just got out of a relationship. I don't know what they were talking about before, but I just heard Jane saying that after all the buttholes she dated, settling for me will be good for her. She then went on to describe my job and all the perks of being with me. Love is apparently not on the list. Hearing this kinda broke me. I just stood in place, dumbfounded. I don't even think that she loves me. For context, we live in a beach house. I bought it as a total gut job and renovated it myself. And I have several other properties that are all rented out. I work in property insurance from home, and I do house flips on the side. I'm satisfied with what I've accomplished so far in my life. All of this was worth mentioning for Jane, but not how much I loved her, how much time we spent together, not how I tried to be supportive of her goals and ambitions, how she wanted nothing. I'm not gonna lie, I was in a bad place, maybe still am. I spent all of last night going through her messages. I knew her password, I just never looked. Well, it's a pretty common thing for her to say. Pretty much all of her friends know what's up. Jane wants a nice, normal guy after all the buttholes she dated. She wants a drama-free life where she'll be taken care of. Every time I read what she really thought about me, it was like another needle was being jammed in my heart. My first reaction was to yell at her and confront her about it. My second reaction was to make her suffer like I am. My dear Jane, the love of my life, I thought, doesn't work right now. She quit her job to be a real estate agent. I don't know, maybe she wanted to learn more about real estate, maybe she thought her looks would get her by. She doesn't work right now. 0. She also lives in my house. She decorated it and certainly put her touches on everything, but my name is on the title. Just mine. Her car is technically mine too. She didn't qualify for financing on her own, and she just had to have a Beamer, so I co-signed it. I can probably make a case that that's my car. We don't have joint accounts. Thank the Almighty himself, because she did ask. I pay her cards right now. I just want to show her the texts, throw her stuff in garbage bags, and put her out on the streets. Will I be the butthole if I did that?
Nah.
I like this reply from Status Pattern, not the butthole. You aren't leaving her destitute. Think of it as you leaving her with exactly what she brought into the relationship. You're not married, you don't have kids, you saw love, and she saw a piggy bank. She didn't quit her job to try something else. That was her excuse so that she could get you to support her joblessness. Yeah, and if she can't at least treat you with baseline respect, why would you want to be with her? So just move on, OP. I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving her 2 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for putting my foot down and charging rent when my stepdad started trying to tell me what to do in my own house? My stepdad has been married to my mom for about 5 years. They were doing all right, but hit hard times and eventually had their house foreclosed on. So they moved in with me, a 27-year-old woman. They've been living here for about 2 or 3 months now, and it's been going okay until last week. Also, my stepdad's been working a part-time job, but hasn't had full-time employment since then. Anyways, I feel like some of the issues started since I've been on vacation, which I have now for 2 weeks. Sometime during the first few days, my stepdad saw me heading out and made some sort of comments regarding my outfits. He said my shorts were too short and that I should reconsider. We fought about it back and forth until I just decided to leave because I was tired of reasoning with him anymore. He's been making a lot of these comments in various times in various ways. For example, my skirts or shorts are too short, your belly is showing, etc. I've told him to stop and he says okay and then starts up again. I can't say I understand. I think the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when I had my boyfriend over. I've told my mom about it as well, and she said that she doesn't support it, but that it's a dispute him and I need to solve. My boyfriend stayed till maybe 10:30 to 11 p.m. and left. My stepdad didn't say anything while he was there, but he emotionally imploded after he left. He said that it's wrong to have guys over this late and to be in my room with them alone. He said that we don't stand
Bro,
for these
what?
things in our house. Hold on, how old is OP? She's 27. I responded to him that he can stand for whatever he wants to in his house, maybe even in a hypothetical our house, but he can't tell me what to do in my house. I told him that the days of him making unsolicited comments at me need to end. On top of that, I told him that from here on out, I'm charging him $400 a month rent with a month-to-month agreement. On top of that, if he continues to make comments, this agreement is over and he'll be out of the house as soon as I'm able to make it happen. My mom was upset at first about it, but I was able to calm her down. First, I told her that she told me it was up to us how to solve this dispute, and this is how I've decided to solve it. Secondly, I told her that he's been staying a while, and starting to charge rent would make my life a bit easier for us as long as he stays. She was a bit more amenable to that second point. My stepdad is just overall quite pissy. He hasn't told my mom or I his thoughts on the arrangement since he yelled at me about it the night of our big argument, but he's just generally ignoring me when he can. I could maybe begin to understand where this guy is coming from if he had married OP's mom when OP was like, 4. And the guy had raised her throughout her entire childhood, so he still saw her as like a little baby that he needs to protect.
Yeah.
He married OP's mom when OP was 22, already a grown adult who could go to a bar and drink. And this guy is treating OP like some horny 15-year-old who's ready to go get knocked up and be a teen mom. Jeez, you should have evicted him, OP. He is getting a sweetheart deal and has the gall to be pissy about it.
Yeah.
$100 a month, sign me up. I would have killed for rent like that, even if my landlord constantly criticized, oh, don't you think you should change your shirts? Yeah, for $400, I'll listen to you say whatever you want to say, man. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your stepdad 1.5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for kicking a pregnant woman out of her seat? Basically, I was doing a long travel day, 5 hours, so I booked my train in advance to ensure that I had a reserved seat. When I got on the train, a woman was in my seat, so I politely inform her that I think that's my seat, show her my ticket, and ask her to move. She checks her ticket and just says, well, I must have sit in the wrong seat, and puts her head down. I say, that's my seat. Could I please sit in it? At this point, her partner, sitting opposite her, starts speaking at me in what I perceive to be an aggressive tone. He suggests I find another seat, which there are none because it's busy. And I say, but I booked that seat, and there are no other seats available in this carriage. He then raises his voice and says, well, someone else is in our seats, and my wife is pregnant. I say I understand that, and that I have a heart defect, which I do. And I said everyone has their own medical issues and reasons, and standing for long periods of time might be difficult. And here's where I could be the butthole. I ask him to not speak to me in an aggressive tone, and that I'll make a complaint. He then starts swearing at me, and I ask him to stop. Eventually, the woman gets up and allows me to sit there, and he continues to berate me, saying he hopes I feel good for myself and that I'm quiet now that I have my seat. When, really, I just stopped engaging as I felt there was no point. One of the men who was sitting beside him offers that he and his partner could sit in the seats opposite me. it's a table seat. At which point he sits his partner down and then laughs at me and points in my face. Eventually, when the ticket inspector comes around, they're asked to move to their assigned seats, and the lady asks if I'm okay, as another passenger had made a complaint on my behalf. Even so, was I the butthole? Should I have just left them alone because she was pregnant? And did
Nah.
I escalate the situation? Why didn't the husband give up his seat?
Yeah.
So he sent his pregnant wife to go steal someone else's seat while he gets the cozy unoccupied seat? And then when you kick his wife out of the seat, he stays sitting and has his wife stand? Wow, what a winning dude. OP, you're completely justified. You get 0 out of 5 buttholes, the wife gets 1 out of 5 buttholes, and the husband gets 2 out of 5 buttholes.
That was r/Am I the Butthole. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.
I'm getting the tingly feelings in my fingertips. Stinky.
Welcome to r/Best of Redditor Updates, where OP's boyfriend has a massive crush on Queen Elsa of Arendelle. Our next Reddit post comes from r/JustKnowSO.
Yeah?
Time has passed 4 years since this relationship ended that I can finally talk about it. I know this might sound like creative writing, but I swear to God this is true. My ex-boyfriend had a fetish for Queen Elsa of Arendelle from Disney's Frozen. Be as skeptical as you want. I'm the one that had to deal with this BS. I was still a super religious fundamentalist at the time that this story took place, so I had no idea what a healthy relationship looked like. Now that I can look back on this, I can see just how strange this was. When I was about 18, I started dating a boy from my church. We ended up dating for around a year and a half total. At first he seemed funny, charming, athletic, blah blah blah. He was all my teenage fantasies poured into one little blonde mold. About 6 months after we started dating, Frozen came out. I thought it was a cute movie and everything, but my ex on the other hand, ooh boy, it was like a switch flipped in him. I was not prepared for what came next. At first it seemed innocent enough. He bought Frozen t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. He liked to sing along to the songs while we were driving. No big deal. He found something he enjoys. Normal, right? Then he started to grow an obsession. Every time we went for a date, it was always at one of our places watching Frozen. I suggested other activities, but was always shut down. I didn't mind much because I loved him and wanted to spend time with him any way that I could. And if I had to suck him off when when Do You Want to Build a Snowman was playing in the background, then dang it, I'll suck him off when Do You Want to Build a Snowman was playing in the background. He bought a storybook that basically told the plot of Frozen in book form and would grab different parts of my body while I read it to him. These events led us to both losing our virginity while Let It Go was playing in the background. Not my proudest moment. Speaking of Let It Go, I'll let you guess what happened during that part of the song. The love letters and good morning messages he wrote to me started to reference the movie and the characters more than they talked about him or I. Sooner or later, the obsession turned over to me personally. He wanted me to look like Elsa. My hair is naturally dark, and he begged me to make it blonde and braid it. I ended up lightening it a bit for summer, and he got angry that I didn't come out fully bleach blonde. He made me do eyeshadow in purple like the character in the movie, and made me show him how to do it. He made me an outfit for me to wear when I visited his apartment. Well, he made me a list of things that I had to buy for myself to wear to his apartment every time I visited. That included an ice blue top that showed lots of cleavage, white shorts, and an over-the-top amount of silver jewelry. He even begged me to purchase a $50 Elsa gown from the Halloween shop and became angry when I wouldn't blow $50 of my limited nanny salary on a Halloween costume that would be hiked up around my waist and stained with, let's say eggnog, in a matter of seconds anyways. When I wouldn't cough up the money to purchase an Elsa gown, he gave me the silent treatment for nearly 2 days. The creepiest part of this is that after he went through all these detailed fantasies of wanting to passionately hug a Disney character, he approached me and asked me if we could name our first daughter Elsa. You know, after he did me in the butt while watching the movie in HD. I suppose I should feel bad for kink shaming him, but honestly, he was such a piece of garbage to me for not being a living F-toy shaped like a kid's movie character. So here it is, world. This girl's ex has a fetish for Queen Elsa from Disney's Frozen. Then OP posted an update where she posted a picture of a handwritten letter that her ex wrote to her. Here's the letter. I love you so, written with like, I don't know, 100 O's. I always thought that I would never find anyone that would ever let me love you the way I do. I always want to be there for you no matter what. That's all you have to do is nothing. Just let me treat you the way that you should feel. You never have to do anything, but let me show you my love that will make me happy. And by the way, I think you have the most beautiful singing voice in the whole world. Or might even be prettier than Elsa's, wink. Although I can't wait to see you in the Elsa outfit. I don't know why, but she's just so pretty. I'm not saying she's more pretty than you. You don't have to dress like her, but I thought that it was the cutest thing ever on Sunday when you were in that dress. You were just the cutest person alive. And just tell me if you want anything. That's what I'm here for, to show you love and support you. I don't know what I'm writing. I just want you to know that you're perfect. I just love you so much. And Frozen. But mainly you with all my heart forever and ever. I love you, princess. Yo, what did I just read? It started off pretty funny and ridiculous, but having a fetish for Elsa and then wanting to name your daughter Elsa? What? Hold on. We're getting too far here. Dude needs to be banished to the Shadow Realm.
Our next Reddit post comes from r/relationships. I'm a 36-year-old woman, and my 41-year-old husband got fired for harassing a coworker and won't talk to me about it. My husband Charlie and I have been together for 10 years, married for 6. We've had our ups and downs, but we're currently in an up. He's never done anything like this in the past, so it came out of left field for me, and I'm very much shocked and at a loss here. Charlie is a computer programmer and was a senior engineer at his former company where he'd worked for 4 years. He'd never had any trouble with coworkers, and we're both friendly with a few of them, mostly other men and their wives. On Friday of last week, he came home around 11 a.m. and told me he'd been fired. He was really upset and agitated, and I didn't want to push him about it, but he told me they'd said that he was harassing a coworker and was fired. Here's the information I've been able to get out of him. The coworker is Beth, a junior engineer whom he's never mentioned to me before. He said that she's terrible at her job. Beth slept with a senior engineer that we're both friendly with, Darren. Darren wasn't involved in the harassment and wasn't fired. The company's lawyers were there, and among the things they told him was that Beth could have pressed charges but chose not to. Something happened with her car, but he won't say what. His exact words were, "There was something with her car." He was escorted off the premises and is not allowed back in the building to get his belongings, and instead has to arrange with security to pick them up after business hours. As far as anything else goes, he won't give me any details. He isn't interested in seeing a lawyer because he says everything is legal. He's basically admitted to sending Beth some emails, but won't say what they said or anything like that. I don't know if Beth sleeping with Darren had to do with it, but the fact that he gave me that detail makes me think that it does. I'm not sure how it relates. Darren is a very nice single man who's in his late 20s and approximately the same age as Beth. My mind is running wild here. Charlie has been depressed and withdrawn all weekend, won't talk to me about it, and won't talk much in general. I work remotely, so I was home all day with him, and he played video games all day and then went to bed at 6 p.m. The fact that he won't tell me anything and isn't interested in seeing a lawyer makes me think it's bad, and makes me worry that everything is true and not just a misunderstanding or a small thing blown out of proportion. He's never been flirtatious with other women or cruel to them, and he's never said anything bad about other women engineers he's worked with. I don't know what to do here. My instinct is to be supportive of my husband, but I don't know what kind of behavior I'd be supporting. I don't want to run to the coworkers we know and ask them since they're more our friends than my friends. And while we do spend time together at get-togethers or bars, I'm not close with them. In an immediate sense, I don't know what to do about helping someone who's depressed and won't talk to me. Then, one day later, OP posted an update. I got up at 5:30 to go to the gym before work, and my husband was still awake playing video games. I presented him with the very good idea someone suggested of him sending me an email with all the details, but that it wasn't acceptable to shut me out of this situation since it affects me too. His response was basically, "The paperwork is in my car. Go get it if you want to read it." I asked him to go get it so we could look at it together, and he said, "You're gonna believe what you want anyway." All of this is unusual for our marriage because I'm a pretty patient person, I think. We went out to the car together, and he got in his car, handed me the papers, and left. For about 2 hours, I was panicked because I didn't know where he went. If he was okay, if he was thinking of hurting himself, but his mother texted me at 9 saying he was over there, asking me what happened, if everything was okay, etc. His parents live about 15 minutes away, and I guess he told her that he's going to be staying there. According to the paperwork, my husband did the following. He sent Beth multiple harassing emails from anonymous email accounts. The emails are printed out and attached. He apparently did this while at work, and they'd been monitoring his user account for 3 months. The emails aren't sexual or romantic in nature, and they're all anonymous, and they're about how she sucks at her job, how she wouldn't be there if she wasn't a woman, how she should quit before she gets fired, and how everyone in the office hates her. He made fake user accounts for his company's product that she works on and submitted bad reviews of her work. He also did this while logged in at work. He sent an anonymous email to her boss saying that she was sleeping with a senior engineer on another project. He put a gun catalog on the windshield of her car. I don't know what this gesture means, but I obviously understand that it was meant to be threatening. Unfortunately, inside was a subscription card that the company auto-filled with my husband's name and address. Whoops. Oh my God, what an idiot. Beth also says she's been harassed for the same length of time, about 3 months, on Twitter. He only logged into one Twitter account that harassed her at work, so they can only say that one of those accounts was him. They were all telling her to quit her job. So, I don't know what to do now. This is all terrifying to me, and I feel so bad for this woman. I have no idea what this is all about. He works with other women engineers, and he's worked with male engineers who don't pull their weight, and he's never done anything like this. I would have bet $1 million that he would never do anything like this. He's at his parents' right now, and I don't know what my next move here could possibly be. This is so scary and out of left field for me. I forgot to mention, this paperwork is copied from the original, and it was signed by both him and his company. I don't know if that's a full admission, but it seems damning either way. I'm trying to figure out why Opie's husband would single out this woman so viciously when he does work with other women and other incompetent people. And my theory, which, is just a guess, is he probably propositioned this woman or had a secret crush on her, and he, imagined him and this woman being together. But then this woman sleeps with another coworker, which made him jealous and bitter, and so he targeted her. That's really the only logical explanation I can come up with.
Even then, it's not even logical.
Opie clearly needs to divorce her husband. Of course, because he's an evil, mean, toxic person, but also because the guy's just plain stupid. The card, the card in the magazine telling his exact name and address, and then an IT person of all people not realizing the company can track his traffic and figure out what website he's going to. Come on, dude. If anyone should know that, it should be someone in IT.
Yeah.
Doofus. Almost have to wonder if he was trying to get her fired or himself fired. At the start of the story, I just assumed the emails were going to be sexual, that he was propositioning her. I can't believe that would have been preferable to the reality. Our next Reddit post comes from r/relationship advice. I was with my ex for 2 years. It was not the best relationship, and we broke up because I moved out for university and just didn't want to be with him anymore. It's been almost 5 years since we broke up, and I'm engaged to be married with my fiance, who is absolutely my soulmate.
Yesterday evening at around 10 p.m., my ex-boyfriend rang our doorbell drunk. His bachelor party was in the city I live in, and he came to see me. When my fiance opened the door, my ex just started sobbing, saying that he couldn't believe that he, as in my fiance, was real or some BS like that. We took him into the apartment because he didn't look dangerous, and he just word vomited before he actually vomited in our bath. What I could gather is that he was still very hurt because of our breakup, that he thinks that we could have made it work, and he regrets treating me badly. He then threw up again and called an Uber to his hotel. It was very surreal. He was fine. We fed him waffles and coffee to sober up and told him to write us when he was in his hotel to make sure he didn't die or something. I was left with a weird feeling, almost dirty. I'm thinking of contacting his soon-to-be wife. Or should I call him to encourage him to tell that to his fiance? Or should I not do anything and let this just be an anecdote for my future? Then OP posted an update. I decided that contacting the bride was the wrong move because we're not friends. However, I sent his sister, an old friend of mine, a message basically saying to talk to her brother because he appeared at my door drunk and distressed and to make sure that he was okay. She thanked me for the message and apologized profusely because my ex has been apparently acting a fool for a few weeks now leading up to his wedding. She asked me if I was okay and if her brother had gone back to the hotel room because they couldn't find him. I told her he had Ubered home and had written to us that he arrived in his room at around 11:30 p.m. She thanked me again and I haven't heard from her since. Then another update. His sister called me again to ask me if he had come by or said anything about his whereabouts. Apparently, he didn't show up for the wedding and no one knows where he is. So, me telling the fiance is now obsolete. Then, 10 days later, OP posted an update. Long story short, my ex bailed. He decided he didn't want to commit to his fiance, bailed, and days later called to break off the engagement. After his sister and I talked, my ex's fiance reached out to me and was kinda mad. The best man had told her that he went to see me. At first, she was convinced that we had passionately hugged, so that took a bit of talking. I felt sorry. She was very distraught. She apologized, I apologized, and I told her that I wished her the best. Saturday, I received a call from the sister. Apparently, the ex reappeared. He went all the way to France. His sister called
Holy
me to
shit.
apologize because my ex had stolen one of my lipsticks. What? I honestly hadn't noticed, but my ex admitted this to her. She PayPal'd me the money to buy myself a new one. I said that I wasn't mad and asked her how she was and how his ex-fiance was. On their end, everything's a mess. Everyone is mad at him. I don't know many more details and was kinda not willing to ask. But yeah, well, that's it. I did some digging in OP's profile to try to figure out where this might have taken place because I'm curious how hard it was for him to just fly off to France randomly. And I think, but I can't confirm, that this is all happening in Germany. So it's a short flight, not that big of a deal. But still, fleeing the country to get away from your fiance on her wedding day is a bit extreme. Man, I'm sorry. I feel bad to laugh. I genuinely feel sorry for the bride in the situation because, you know, she didn't do anything wrong. And that's such an embarrassing way to find out that your fiance is a piece of garbage. But hey, I guess all's well that ends well because OP got PayPal money for a tube of lipstick.
That was r/best of Redditor updates. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.
Next. This one might be my last one. I don't know.
Welcome to r/Am I the Devil, where OP believes that she's entitled to steal. Our next Reddit post comes from r/Am I the Butthole. Am I the butthole for calling my housemates selfish because they keep food in their rooms instead of our kitchen?
I'm a first-year university student and just last week moved into my halls. I live with 7 other people, all freshmen, in a sort of flat. Our halls are divided into flats, so it's a big flat with 8 rooms, 2 bathrooms, and a huge kitchen. Unfortunately, I was quite unlucky with my housemates because we're already having issues. Our kitchen has 2 big fridges, so everyone has a shelf and we all have our own cardboard. I've been trying to eat healthy, so I've only been buying myself healthy food and no sweets or snacks. I'm fine during the day, but I get cravings at night when I'm watching stuff. One night, I decided to raid the kitchen and found some chocolate on someone else's shelf, so I took it. The next night, I was hungry and saw yogurts in the fridge. I wanted to take one, but ended up eating all of them. I wanted to buy replacements, but they were too expensive. I got something else too, and that's when a note appeared in the kitchen to not take stuff that isn't ours. I thought that was rude. At least be an adult and speak directly and not leave passive-aggressive notes. I've taken a few more things after that, but noticed that my housemates stopped buying the good stuff and there was nothing on their shelves. And then we had a housemate meeting, and turns out they're keeping their food in their rooms, which I thought was selfish, and I told them so. They called me an inconsiderate butthole. Last night, one of my housemates had friends over, and she told all of us that we can join. I was in the kitchen making dinner. That's when they were having drinks, and they asked me to join. I asked my roommates if she had any alcohol because I didn't buy any, and I joked that she must keep it stashed in her room. Her friend whispered to her, "Is that her?" and she nodded. I called her a bullying B-word and left the kitchen. I spoke to my family and they agreed that there was nothing wrong with what I did, but my housemates reported me to the housing department and I have a meeting tomorrow, which means that maybe I was in the wrong. Tell me, am I the butthole for taking some snacks and calling them selfish? Oh, poor me. Why won't anybody let me steal from them? I want to rob. I want to be a thief and a robber. Please let me steal your stuff. In the comments, OP is predictably getting blasted, and it's clear just how much of an attitude she has. Let me read some of these comments. I mean, they could have talked to me about it. The notes were passive aggressive. They never even gave me a chance to stop because we've only been living together for like 10 days. I was meaning to buy those yogurts back, but they were some fancy ones that were way too overpriced. I was gonna look for a cheaper alternative, but I forgot. Am I the butthole for not guaranteeing I can get up and go to Greece? My partner has an opportunity to do business in Greece. His company is so keen that he goes that they've offered to either give him a large bonus or pay for me to attend. He chose for me to go, as we've never been abroad together. However, I just found out that our trip, which is 2 weeks from now, will require me to leave the house by 8:15 in order to catch the plane. I take medication each morning, which makes me alert after I take it for 30 minutes or so, but also makes me crash each night and I struggle to wake up the next day after a very deep sleep. I'm dependent on this medication and have tried to stop taking it or just cut down. But I suffered not only tiredness, but other side effects which made me miserable and unable to function properly. I've said that I hope to make the trip, but can't guarantee it. I don't want him to be panicked if I let him down last minute. I'd rather he be prepared that even if he tries hard to wake me, I may not be ready on time. But I'll try and I'll do what I can. He was extremely upset and asked if he should cancel my ticket, which I said is his choice, though I'd rather go if I can. He doesn't want that, but he now says he feels that I'm unreliable as a life partner, which really hurts, as I've supported him through some really bad times, and he's always claimed to be grateful. He said he's gone from really looking forward to a romantic trip to seeing it as a sign of how little I care about him. My time management is awful in general, but he has no idea how painfully tired I am when I wake up. I work from home and try to never make commitments before 11 a.m. I love him so much, and I really do want to have a romantic getaway with him. I just don't want to lie and be a sudden letdown, and although I can try very hard, I can't be sure I'll make the plane. Am I the butthole? She's being paid to go on vacation, and all she has to do is wake up early one day, and that's still too much for this woman? All you gotta do is go to bed 2 hours early. You can't even do that for the love of your life? Oh, geez. Also in the comments, we find out that OP likes to stay up until 3 a.m.
Well,
So,
that's
is
your
the problem
problem.
medication or just bad sleeping habits? I love this comment from Traveling Techie. If the house catches fire at 7:30 a.m., will you just burn to death? Our next Reddit post comes from r/legal advice. My wife left our 5-year-old kid in the car for 30 minutes while she went to Costco. Someone called the police, and
Good.
now my kid has to get checked out in the emergency room. What's my best option? To preface this, we're a perfectly healthy family. If CPS does reach out to our friends in the school for investigation, I don't think they'll conclude that we're abusive parents by any means. But the thing about leaving my kid in the car, I now realize that this is a much more serious issue than we initially thought. Someone discovered my unattended daughter, age 5, in the car and called the police. The police arrived with an ambulance, and my daughter was sent to the ER on the ambulance. My wife would go meet her in the emergency room with her own car. I'm now worried about what could be the consequences from this. Is it likely that CPS would take my kids away for a few days? What other possible legal actions could be taken on us from CPS? If I just want to minimize the impact, what's the best course of action? Say nothing to CPS and hire a lawyer? Needless to say, after this incident, we would never leave our kid unattended in the future. Also, we're in New Jersey. Okay, everyone knows that leaving a kid unattended in a car is bad. But down in the comments, Kumaster gives us an idea of just how bad it really is. My mom used to leave me in the car as a kid all the time. I remember opening and closing the car door for fun and getting my finger caught. I remember one hot summer day overheating because I couldn't get the windows down. I remember being trapped with a wasp on the car and screaming my lungs out. I remember releasing the parking brake and having the car roll down a hill into traffic and my mom running after the car. Fun times. Don't leave your kid unattended, even if someone like me survived the experience. Wow, there's actually a lot of stories like these, also from Stars of Sobek. Yep, my parents did the same. There were usually 5 or 6 of us jammed illegally into the car all at once, for whatever reason. I remember the California sweltering heat, sweating and being thirsty and miserable, and cracking the doors just to get airflow. I remember being hungry and having to wait sometimes hours for my parents to return from their air-conditioned shopping trip. I remember the car being absolutely stone cold in the winter, because, of all things, they were worried about leaving the keys in the ignition, lest we might start the car and do something stupid. I think of all the experiences, the worst was my parents going up to a specialty nut and fruit market outside of town. They disappeared for hours. We all began to have to pee, and in absolute desperation, we emptied out a big gulp cup and passed it around to take turns, girls and boys alike. There's nothing like being left in a car by adults. It just sucks. It's also the reason I will never, ever leave my child behind in a vehicle. Our next Reddit post comes from Oceanfront Fall. I started taking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in 2021 as a way to get into better shape after the lockdowns. I had joined a regular gym, and I also started going to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy on the advice of my cousin, who had started going to one. He lives in another province. However, he was able to recommend one where I live. I'm only a blue belt, but I really enjoy it. I started dating my girlfriend last year, and I thought Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was something we could do together. She was reluctant. I got her to come observe me a few times, and she was still reluctant. Then she told me about the women-only class for beginners at a different academy. Part of why she was reluctant was that there are currently no women at my academy. We've had women come before, but they always drop out and stop coming after a while. I didn't think the women's-only class was a good idea. Plus, the idea was for us to do something together, so I convinced her to join my academy. She joined almost 2 months ago. In that time, she went with me every time she wasn't working on the same evenings I was free and would go to the academy. She never went alone though. A few times, she complained to me that the others at the academy were rough, but it's a contact sport and I convinced her to stay after she wanted to quit. Last week, I had to work a couple of days when she wasn't working. I tried to convince her to go without me. The first time she didn't, but the second time I got her to go. She got hurt that second time. She was rolling with a blue belt, and he got her into an arm bar. She says he went right into it and didn't go slow or give her time to tap. She broke her arm, her left ulna near the elbow. He says that he was just trying to show her how fast things happen in real life and didn't think her arm would break like that. She said the others should know that because of the size and weight difference, and he shouldn't have done the armbar that forceful or fast. I believe him that it was an accident. However, I feel terrible for my girlfriend. I've only talked to her once since she got hurt. It was mostly her being upset, and I didn't really get to say anything. We were talking about moving in together. Now, she said she doesn't want to go. She said the others at the academy were rough and should have known to not go so hard because she's smaller than them. It's a contact sport, and one of the purposes is self-defense. I don't like that she got hurt, but I also don't believe the blue belt or any of the others were rough on purpose. She won't talk to me. I don't even know what's going to happen with our relationship. She said she's mad at herself for not quitting when she wanted to, but she's mad at me too. And at our instructor. I don't know why she's mad at him. I feel awful that she got hurt, but at the same time, it's a contact sport and injuries can happen. I don't think it was on purpose or anything like that.
It's a contact sport. It's a
Maybe the
contact
reason
sport.
why there are no women at the academy is because guys keep breaking their arms. Also, if you think about it, the fact that there is an all-women's class of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu kind of leads us to the conclusion that there's a need for that class, and maybe the need for it is guys being too rough with the girls. Also, I'm seeing comments down below from people who actually practice martial arts, including Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who say that actually the people who get hurt most frequently are beginners because they don't know how to recover or defend. So, people practicing moves should know that and go extra easy on the beginners. Our next Reddit post comes from r/custody. I refuse to see my children. After an ugly custody battle, the ex-wife won full legal and physical custody. I strongly felt the outcome was completely unfair and uncalled for. She did everything she could to malign me and expertly manipulated the courts. And only having the kids 2 days every other week, I started feeling more distant from them. The alienation started immediately. Mom says you should do this, or Mom lets us do that. The support payments are ungodly. Over a third of my income went to support. It didn't take long that I would resent them. Eventually, and unexpectedly, I found that I no longer loved them. That particular pain was palpable. I began alternating between anxiety attacks and panic attacks. It dragged on for 3 years. I fought it. I hired many therapists to help me move on, but every day grew more painful. The massive debt left by the divorce left me unable to contest anything. I still can't afford even a consult. Eventually, I began having thoughts of ending my life. I was in the planning phase even. It passed, but now I can't shake the daily thought. Stubbornly, I won't act. Finally, I broke. I dropped the kids off at her house and told them goodbye. I explained that I wasn't picking them up again. Ever. It was a sentence rehearsed 4 years in the making. They're both only 7. My disgust at the family courts, my ex, and the lawyers has driven me mad with abhorrence. I hate our system of family courts. It's destroyed me. I used to be a happy person. I'm not that person anymore. Depression is constant. Hope is gone. It's nearly comically unfortunate that I don't possess the button to explode the entire planet.
What?
Now, the damage is done. Almost 2 months in, and I refuse to see my children. I sold their furniture today. Their toys dropped off in paper bags on their mother's doorstep. If miraculously the tides turned, a lottery of luck is won. The lasting damage has already severed the nerves. There's no going back. The social outcry is icing on the cake. How could you? Children need both parents. Really? That's not how the state makes me feel. That's not how the family courts interpret my trivial parenting time. It feels as though they want their cake and to eat it too. Be a real father, a parent, but don't get any ideas of having a meaningful relationship with your kids. That's for mothers only. Here's your token 2 days. Now appreciate us. I know I'm ranting, but why not? No one else really cares. Otherwise, so many fathers out there wouldn't feel so marginalized and broken. I know I do. I'm not the only one, right? There definitely are people who get screwed over in custody battles, there's no doubt about that, and OP may have legitimately been screwed. But on top of that,
clearly OP is a bad person. Because if I got screwed in a custody battle and I couldn't see my daughter except for 2 days every other week, I would just want to be around her more and more. I wouldn't sever all connections and move on in bitter hatred like this guy. I think I'm starting to get a sense.
Hi, Rose. What the fuck?
Lost so much custody.
That was r/am I the devil. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I
Scared the shit out of me. You bitch. Rude ass.
Welcome to r/nuclear revenge, where OP gets revenge against a kitten killer. Our next Reddit post is from Deleted. So, a few months back,
What
I
the
found my dog
fuck?
Gigi on the street. He was so young, maybe a couple of months old, so I felt as if I couldn't just leave him there. He also looked extremely malnourished, and it was so heartbreaking to see. Just in case he was an escaped kitten, I posted flyers all over the neighborhood and on lost pet forums for my area. Absolutely no one contacted me, so I took him to the vet and registered him as my pet. I got him vaccinated, chipped, and neutered when he was old enough. When I first found him, I thought that he was a Russian blue. He looked exactly like them, down to the face shape and eye color. As he got older, his stripes never faded like the breeder said they would, so I abandoned the idea that he was a Russian blue. Besides, it's downright preposterous that an expensive breed of cat would be abandoned like that, right? Out of curiosity, even though he's legally my cat now, I decided to check the neighborhood watch and lost pet forums. That's when I found a post from one of my neighbors going absolutely nuclear on another neighbor, exposing her and her business. I'll call the nuclear neighbor Daisy and the total waste of air Karen. From what I read on Daisy's post, Daisy feeds the local stray cats. There's one in particular, a tabby, that liked to hang out in her lawn. Her next door neighbor, Karen, is a cat breeder, specifically for Russian blue cats. Karen hates Daisy because she feeds the strays and was worried about them ruining her business. One day, Daisy hears screaming coming from Karen's house, sounds of objects being thrown, general commotion. Daisy stepped outside, ready to call the cops, believing it to be a domestic disturbance. Instead, she watched Karen chase a
I'm working on a big pixel commission batch that I have to get done because I ordered 10 of them. I'm on the 4th one. I'm doing like all the easy ones right now. So that they'll kind of be like out of the way. And then I got to do like the harder ones. Pixels are honestly pretty easy, but because this is how big they actually are, I have to fit a lot into a tiny space. So I might do a few more impromptu night streams so I can get rid of my queue. It's not a lot on my queue. It's just, they're all like really simple, easy things. I was so sad that I had to take more commissions though, which I'm like, I'm not going to complain about having commissions, but like I had cleared my queue. So I was going to finally be able to take just like VTuber stuff and rigging. And then I had to take on more.
tabby out of her house, smacking it with a broom and trying to kill it. The two got into an argument, which prompted Daisy to write about it for the first time on the Neighborhood Watch. About 4 to 5 months later, there's more disturbances at Karen's house. Yelling, screaming, bumping around. Once again, Daisy stepped outside to see if they needed help and saw Karen angrily stomping out of her house with a box. She walks down the street a bit, and Daisy discreetly follows her. Karen reaches the tiny playground in the neighborhood and throws the box in the bushes. Daisy goes to the bush and sees a bunch of kittens in the box, around the box, and in the bushes. She tries to grab them all, but a couple run off and she can't catch them. Daisy is pissed, brings the kittens that she managed to catch home, and goes to confront Karen. Karen is also mad at her, blaming Daisy's feeding of the strays for losing her thousands of dollars. The tabby that hangs out around the house apparently got Karen's cat pregnant, and she couldn't sell the kittens because they're not purebred and it's obvious. After their argument, Daisy takes the kittens to the vet, and most have injuries. Broken tails, injured ribs, etc. Once Daisy got home, she reported Karen for animal abuse and then started to expose Karen online. Everywhere she went, Daisy told people not to buy from Karen, even going on to her breeder page and exposing what she did to the kittens. From what she knows, Karen completely lost her business. Despite this, every month, Daisy will post about Karen and warn people not to buy from her, just in case. Now, I'm not sure if Gigi is one of the kittens that came from that. It could very well be just a gray tabby from strays. But the timeline matches up. I'm not sure if Karen is going to face legal charges for the abuse she did to those kittens, but I sure hope so.
Yeah,
It's just
jeez.
moronic because in addition to being unethical, it's one of the worst things you could do to get the entire internet against you. I don't understand why she didn't just post on Craigslist saying, "Hey, I've got free cats, come grab one and it's yours." Instead, she had to kill cats? Awful. Some people get into animal breeding because they love the animal. Other people get into animal breeding because it's just a means to make a few bucks. And it's clear that Karen is the second half. Our next Reddit post is from Chaotic Lokian. I'm a wheelchair user because of a fainting disorder. I have severe POTS for those wondering. I looked it up, and POTS is a condition characterized by an excessive increase in heart rate upon standing or sitting upright. So I think it's like when you stand up, you know how sometimes you feel kind of lightheaded? It's that, but way, way worse, if I'm understanding this correctly. I came home from work to see a car parked right under a no parking fire lane on the sidewalk. It blocked the way into my apartment, and I had to leave the wheelchair in my car. I started taking photos of the car because this had been an issue with the owner for months. My landlord had told me to get photos of it and email them to him every time she did it after I mentioned it one time in passing. While I was taking a photo, the owner of the car came out of her apartment to scream at me. I stayed calm and tried to walk into my apartment. She got in my face to continue screaming, and by reflex, I shove her back. She then grabbed me by the throat and began to punch me. After a minute, my neighbors and roommate, who were having a smoke, came running and got her off me. Police were called. Paramedics showed up because my neck was bleeding. The woman had acrylic.
Jesus.
And I ended up going to the emergency room because I had a syncope episode while the paramedics were there. I think syncope is when your heart rhythm gets messed up, a temporary loss of consciousness that occurs when the brain doesn't receive enough blood flow. I am completely wrong. It is like a fainting episode. Okay. I decided to press charges thinking I'd just get an aggravated assault or something. I made sure the police came while she was home because I knew she had a gun on the wall, despite being a convicted felon. When the police went to arrest her, they found that the car was stolen without insurance. She didn't have a license. There were used needles all over the apartment with her 8-year-old child, and the gun, which was also marked stolen. The child is in foster care, and she's in jail without bond. The district
Holy
attorney
shit.
said that her child recorded the incident. She had apparently told her to, and it was already ruled as assault because of the overwhelming proof. Plus, the 7 counts of assault she had gotten in the past 5 years already. Had I
Jesus.
gotten her nailed with it outside of her home, she probably would have only gotten probation since she was a parent. But now, she lost her kid, her home, her car, and is going to be in jail for about 30 years or more,
Holy
depending what the state charges
shit.
her for with the drugs. As I was reading the description of terrible things this woman had done, I was thinking, yo, if you're a criminal, why would you park your car illegally? It sounds like those stories of a serial killer who gets caught because, they let their license plate registration expire or something. But then we got to the point of all the needles in the apartment, and I was like, aha, now it makes sense. This lady is not operating under conventional logic. Our next Reddit post is from One Half of Ham. In 2003, the company I was working for closed down, so I sought out new employment. I was a machinist by trade, with a great reputation, so it took me less than a day to get a new job. We'll call the new place Spiral because of the special.
Can you hear the r slash videos? Or are they quiet?
Specialized tools they made. Anyways, I started out as one of the operators. The place was owner operated, meaning the owner was there daily. He had a floor supervisor who was actually pretty nice. After I'd been there around a year, the owner and the super had a falling out, and the super left. For whatever reason,
Hold on.
the owner, Dick, told me that I was in charge. A little backstory on Dick. He was in his 60s
Better?
and had started the company out of his garage. He ended up buying a huge chunk of land and turned it into an industrial park all while in his 20s. By now, he was one of the richest guys in the States. He was also the biggest butthole I'd ever met. He treated every employee like garbage, except for me and one other guy. If we dared to talk to each other during work hours, he would scream at us. My promotion kind of financially trapped me. Dick would have no problems talking to me though, and he was the braggy sort of rich guy while paying us the bare minimum. During our talks, I learned that he cooked his books. You see, the industrial park was owned by an entity that he created, while Spiral was owned by another. He would always make sure the park entity charged Spiral enough in rent that it looked like the company was barely staying afloat. He also bragged that he had taken a bunch of industrial waste and buried it on his property at home because it costs so much less. He made my life hell over the next decade, always keeping my pay just high enough that I couldn't afford to leave, while treating me and my guys like garbage. I ended up with a 95% turnover rate on employees. I am not exaggerating. We ended up having to go to temp agencies towards the end. Even they refused to send me people. I had to do some careful wording, but my duties end up swelling to the point where I convinced Dick to let me say that I was the plant manager. This was huge. I have no college degree, but I now had a title and the experience. I started to look for a job in earnest, and after 6 months, I found one for a lot more money, with benefits. Yeah, Spiral had no benefits. Now, over my time at Spiral, I had seen that every person who gave their 2 weeks notice was told to leave on the spot, and the company that hired me insisted I give them the 2-week notice. So I said I would, but I didn't. At the end of my last day, I sat at my desk and sent an email to the head of OSHA and the state EPA's office. 2 men that I had gotten to know well. I filled them in on all the violations that Dick had disclosed. I also sent an email to the state's attorney about the books. I left my keys on my desk with a paper under them that simply read, "I quit." I never found out if the state attorneys went anywhere, but the contact at OSHA let me know the company ended up with $150,000 in fines for some willful violations. And the guy from the EPA dug up half of Dick's property before he admitted to where he buried the waste. Last I knew, Dick ended up in jail. Tax evasion! That's how Al Capone got taken down, actually. If you're gonna cook the books, don't brag about it, you idiot. Our next Reddit post is from OG Sister Midnight. 15 years ago, I had a boyfriend that I'd been with for 6 years.
He moved to another city for work while I finished my studies, and then I would move there too. He was apartment hunting, subleasing in the meantime. He came home almost every weekend and during Christmas and New Year's. He found an apartment in January and invited me up to show it and prepared to move up. He was looking for a job, looking for new furniture, etc. Late February, I told him it's time to terminate the lease on the apartment in our hometown when he suddenly broke up with me. I was shocked and very sad. He collected some clothes and his very expensive computer, which he built from scratch. It was his baby. 2 weeks later, he updated his profile picture on Facebook to him and another woman kissing. Obviously, they hadn't been dating 2 weeks. I called him and called him out on it, and he admitted to having met her 2 months ago. He was at the airport to travel with his buddy for the weekend, so we didn't talk long. That same evening, I decided to tell the new girlfriend. I managed to find her on Facebook and wrote to her. She didn't believe me at first, of course, but I sent her texts, pictures, I described their apartment in detail. Well, her apartment, as it turned out. And when I sent If you're gonna cook the books, don't brag about it, you idiot. Our next Reddit post is from OG Sister Midnight. 15 years ago, I had a boyfriend that I'd been with for 6 years. He moved to another city for work while I finished my studies, and then I would move there too. He was apartment hunting, subleasing in the meantime. He came home almost every weekend and during Christmas and New Year's. He found an apartment in January and invited me up to show it and prepared to move up. He was looking for a job, looking for new furniture, etc. Late February, I told him it's time to terminate the lease on the apartment in our hometown when he suddenly broke up with me. I was shocked and very sad. He collected some clothes and his very expensive computer, which he built from scratch. It was his baby. 2 weeks later, he updated his profile picture on Facebook to him and another woman kissing. Obviously, they hadn't been dating 2 weeks. I called him and called him out on it, and he admitted to having met her 2 months ago. He was at the airport to travel abroad with his buddy for the weekend, so we didn't talk long. That same evening, I decided to tell the new girlfriend. I managed to find her on Facebook and wrote to her. She didn't believe me at first, of course, but I sent her texts, pictures, I described their apartment in detail. Well, her apartment, as it turned out. And when I sent her a dick pic that he had sent me with their bedroom clearly in the background, she said, "Okay, enough, I believe you." She told me they'd been dating for 8 months, not 2. She had been in Africa for 2 months in December and January, which would explain why he was able to be with me for 2 weeks over the holidays, and why he could invite me to see the apartment. We wrote each other a lot. He sent both of us the exact same Valentine's Day text. He bought us the exact same Christmas present, etc. You get the picture. After comparing notes, it was time for revenge. She cut up all of his clothes and left them in a pile on the floor. I told her about the PC and advised her to tear that thing to pieces. She hacked it with screwdrivers and hammers, and every piece was beyond saving. When he came home on Sunday, she tossed him out with nowhere to go, but not before showing him that all his possessions were obliterated. Also, OP clarifies, I need to clarify that legally it was my PC. I'd won money on one of those scratch lottery tickets, but since we were living together, I kind of thought of it as ours. Huge mistake. The funny and kind of subtle part of this is that actually, this guy could sue his girlfriend for damaging all of his belongings. But since OP convinced his current girlfriend to do it, OP is completely immune from any damages. Our next Reddit post is from Balloon Not Bandit. One day, I was on my evening walk with my dog, and we came across a small dog standing in the middle of the street, shaking. Its hair was matted, had mange, ridden with fleas, one eye swollen and sealed shut with mucus, nails so long it was walking on the back of its paws, malnourished and quivering. I was shocked. I called my wife to bring me a blanket and come pick us up. While I was waiting, the door of the house in front of us opened, and out came a disheveled-looking older man. He started calling for the dog to come inside. I absolutely lost it. I screamed at him, asking if it was his dog, and he replied that it was. I asked him why it was in such bad shape, and he said, "She's sick and won't eat." I yelled at him there was no effing way in the world I was letting him take her back inside. The shouting match lasted long enough for a few neighbors to come outside, who later told me that he had another dog in the house. Eventually, my wife pulls up, and I wrap the doggo in the blanket and go home. I looked up the name of our local no-kill shelter,
You're
but they were
stinky.
closed until the following day. My wife and I decided to call the dog Sally. I gave Sally a bath and went and bought some wet food since she wouldn't eat dry kibble. She devoured it. I set her up a nice sleeping area in the garage for her to spend the night. First thing in the morning, I took Sally to the shelter and called animal control and told them what happened. They went to check her out, took a statement from me, and ended up at the old man's house confiscating his other dog. Unfortunately, Sally was put down due to the horrible shape that she was in. She was also very old. Here's where the revenge begins. This old butthole's house was on the route I took to walk my dog twice a day. My dog liked to take a dump about 2 houses before we reached his. Perfect! Now I didn't need to carry bags of poop all the way back to my house. I started tossing them on this guy's roof twice a day. At first, he would climb a ladder around once a week to get them down, but eventually I broke his will to do that. This went on for about a year before I moved. His roof was covered in poo bags. I also printed out flyers with his address and pictures of how I found Sally and put them in all the neighbors' mailboxes. I live across town now, but every couple of months I ride by and toss a bag of dog poop on his roof to let him know that I'm still thinking about Sally. People in the comments are saying this is more r/petty revenge than r/nuclear revenge. I think I'd go with r/poopy revenge. That was r/nuclear revenge, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day. Welcome to r/off my chest, where OP gets sext messages from her dad. Our next video post is from Prior Snow. My dad accidentally sexted me. He sent a message, "Can't wait to take that butt again, Kelly," which would be merely embarrassing if my mom's name is Kelly, but it isn't. It's my aunt's name. When I told him to check who he's messaging, he quickly told me that my mom sometimes role plays as my aunt. He said that he isn't cheating on her. I just don't know how to feel right now. Well, I think feeling grossed out is a pretty good start. Also, maybe confusion over which is worse, your dad cheating on your aunt or your mom role-playing as your aunt. Either way, I think I'd probably tell my mom in this scenario just in case. I'm terrified to tell my wife what her sister has been doing. The event that drove me to post here happened 4 days ago, so it's still kind of fresh. For some context, I'm a 28-year-old woman and my wife is 25. Her sister, my sister-in-law, is trans, 22. And the entire family has been supportive of her, my wife and I included. This is important. Anyways, my mother's birthday was on the 16th, but since she was away with my dad, we decided to have a birthday party with her at our house on the 23rd. Everybody came, my sister-in-law included. Now, I feel I should mention this. Any time that my wife and I had a get-together with family at our house and her sister came too, she would always dip off away from the gathering and disappear somewhere in the house. She's very introverted at times, so we'd all think that she just went to play with the dogs or watch TV. That's what we thought. But on the night of the 23rd, we were all ushered back inside to light the candles and sing happy birthday to my mom. I said that I'd go find my sister-in-law since, again, she went off somewhere. No big deal. So I walk upstairs and I notice the door to the master bedroom. It was closed when I thought that I'd closed it, and the light was on when I thought that I turned it off. I saw the light from the space under the door. So I open it thinking that I was wrong, and I go to turn the light off. Before I could reach the light switch, I saw my sister-in-law standing in my wife's closet trying on her lingerie. She had one of the drawers to her lingerie dresser on the floor, and she'd been taking some out, trying it on, and then putting it back. I didn't say anything out loud because I'm a pretty intimidating person, so I just made a noise with the door, and she spun around and slammed the closet door. I mustered up the courage to finally say, "My mom is ready to sing happy birthday, they're all waiting for you," and stood outside in the hallway until she came out. As I was following her back, that's when it clicked. All those times when she had vanished in our house, this is what she was probably doing. I was horrified and sick to my stomach. My wife had clear boundaries about keeping our bedroom off limits, so we've always kept our bedroom door closed. We never thought anything of it. I'm very protective of my wife and her space, and I fought the urge to say something all night. But I never did because I wanted that night to be about my mom. It worked because nobody suspected anything wrong and the party carried on as planned. Ever since then, my sister-in-law has been texting, apologizing, saying how she's been having a hard time passing and this was her last resort option. This doesn't make sense, since my wife has offered many times to take her shopping and help her, and I've always supported that. My problem now is, after I tell her what happened, what do we do? Where do we go from here? This is clearly a trust issue now, so how do we rebuild that trust with someone we deeply care about? Then OP posted an update. Late yesterday afternoon, my wife came home from her friend's house. She was there helping her friend do some DIY stuff in her kitchen in the days after my mom's birthday. I sat her down, and I knew that she could tell something was wrong because she was holding my hand. I told her everything. I didn't beat around the bush. Actually, my exact words were, "Your sister has been trying on your lingerie. I walked in on her doing it the other night at my mom's party, and I've been trying to find the words to tell you." We were stunned with the thickest silence ever, and then my wife just went, "What?" I repeated what I said, and then I included the specific things she was trying on, the brand, color, everything. That's when it clicked in her that I was being serious because she knows that I know what she wears. She stood up and started panicking, asking if her sister took any of it, if it's been washed since, and if she said anything. I told her, "No, it doesn't look like she took anything. Yes, I washed it the day after you left to go to your friends, and yes, she apologized a lot through text since then." I showed her the messages, and she started bawling, saying how she doesn't understand why her sister didn't tell her what was going on. She then started apologizing to me, saying how I didn't deserve to walk in on that. I tried to divert the conversation back to her, telling her how this was ultimately about what she wants to do. She asked me to show her where she was rummaging, so we went to her closet and I showed her. I could see the color drain from her face and her energy shift. She ended up tossing whatever her sister tried on, and I helped her do so. We then went to shower since she didn't want to be alone in her thoughts. She also expressed to me how she felt violated and that her privacy and intimate life had been plundered through and doesn't even want to go back in her closet right now. I don't blame her at all. By the way, this also mows over any of your comments claiming that she probably wouldn't care. Well, she does care, and she's humiliated. As for confronting my sister-in-law, we've decided to talk to her together at our house, with me being my wife's support. What we're going to say, outside of asking her the obvious questions, isn't planned yet, but we do know how to bring it up, so that's a start. We're hoping there's no dark motive behind this, and something we can slowly build and move past, but only time will tell. I'm seeing down in the comments a couple of posts saying sisters share clothes, and don't get me wrong, I don't have a sister. I've got 3 brothers, so I don't have much context here, but I'd be very surprised if the typical sister shares lingerie. That does not seem likely to me. Our next Reddit post is from Magali.
Lingerie is
I'm a
too far.
28-year-old woman, and I've been married to my husband, who's 32, for 3 years. We have a 1-year-old daughter together. Up until recently, I thought that I could count on him when I truly needed him. But last week, he proved me completely wrong. I'd been feeling off for a couple of days, fatigued, nauseous, just generally unwell. Then, one morning, I woke up with a fever, chills, and a deep sense that something was really wrong. I was so weak I could barely get out of bed. Taking care of our daughter felt impossible. I called my husband at work and told him I needed him to come home. He promised he would. An hour passed, then 2.
He kept texting me saying he was just finishing up something and would leave soon. Then he claimed he was stuck in traffic. Then he said that he was on his way but had to stop for gas. At this point, my fever was getting worse, and I was struggling to even sit up without feeling dizzy. I told him it was urgent. He reassured me that he was almost there. But something felt off, so I texted one of his coworkers, someone I knew that he was close with. The response I got sent a chill down my spine. He hasn't left yet. He's still here. I was furious and terrified. I immediately called my neighbor, a kind older person. She came over right away, helped me get dressed, and drove me to the hospital. Turns out I had a severe asymptomatic urinary tract infection that had turned into a serious kidney infection.
Oh,
My
shit.
heart rate was dangerously high, and the doctors told me that if I had waited much longer, I could have gone into septic shock. Septic shock is a life-threatening condition that occurs when the body's immune system overreacts to an infection, leading to dangerously low blood pressure and organ damage. 2 hours later, while I was lying in that hospital bed, shaking from fever and hooked up to an IV, my husband finally decided to show up. I didn't even want to look at him. He tried to explain, saying he didn't realize it was that bad and that he was just trying to wrap things up at work. But I can't get over the fact that he lied to me over and over while I was at home struggling to stay conscious. If my neighbor hadn't been there, I don't know what would have happened to me. I feel so betrayed. If he could ignore me in a life-threatening situation, what does that say about our marriage, about our future, about our daughter's safety if something ever happens again? I don't know what to do. Would you be able to trust your partner after something like this?
No.
I don't know. I don't know if I could, OP. Not showing up when you need them is bad enough as it is, because that's like the #1 requirement for being in a relationship. But also, why all the lying? Why did he do that? What was the goal? What was the point? So
Yeah.
the way I see it, it's like a double betrayal. You could have literally died because he just didn't tell you the truth. Then OP posted an update. I'm feeling better and finally back home after a few days in the hospital. My parents came to pick up my daughter and took care of her while I was away. They live 4 hours away, so I hadn't asked for their help earlier. I didn't really get an apology from him, just a bunch of excuses. He said he didn't think that it was that serious, and I should have just gone to the neighbor if it was really that bad. I didn't argue, not because I agree, but because some of the comments I got made me realize some things. People asked if I'm the type to cry wolf, and that's why he didn't come. In 5 years of being together, I've only ever needed him to take me to the hospital once, when I gave birth to our daughter. He wasn't there when I was sick, and if he had come home, he probably wouldn't have done much anyway if it didn't need a hospital. But then someone asked me what I would do if our daughter was in my position, and he acted the same way. That hit me hard. And as drastic as it sounds, I don't want to be with him anymore. I don't think I can ever trust him again. I've made an appointment with a lawyer, but of course, divorce takes time. I'm looking for an apartment, but the housing shortage is a nightmare. Since I live in a rural area though, there's still hope. I haven't told him yet. He's acting like nothing's wrong, so I'm doing the same. I even saw comments suggesting that he might not have actually been at work, maybe using it as an excuse for something else. So one night, while he was sleeping, I checked his phone. I didn't find proof that he wasn't at work, but I did find messages to women, multiple flirty ones, and Tinder. These messages have been going on for months. He was also sending TikToks to his friends while I was sick, laughing and joking around with no real concern for me. He told me his boss refused to give him time off. I found no evidence that he even asked for time off or discussed my condition with anyone. I'm starting to suspect that he lied, because if he really did ask, it would have been illegal for his boss to deny him leave where I live. At this point, I don't feel like confronting him. I just want out. I ignored the red flags before, the small lies, broken promises, and I shouldn't have. I thought he'd be there for me when it mattered most, but I guess I was naive. I never thought anyone could let me down like this. I'm not telling him I'm leaving until I'm ready, just like he didn't tell me that he wasn't coming.
Our next Reddit post is from Kinda Sorta Losing It. I've been married to my husband for nearly 17 years, together for 20. I knew that prior to our relationship, he struggled with money issues, and it's a huge trigger for him.
So what did I manage to do? Take over the bills a couple of years ago and completely screwed it up. Credit card debt, juggling zero interest cards, all that jazz. My credit has been on a slow and steady decline. I've been trying to keep things out of his name, so his credit is okay. I have so much guilt and shame. I was so stupid to let it happen. I use shopping habits, expensive hobbies, and poor financial habits as a way to cover up my anxiety and depression. I lost my mom, we've had a lot of medical debt, travel for my mom and medical reasons. None of these things are excuses for lying to him though. I'm so overwhelmed and guilty. He has no idea. On Friday, we're going to sit down to review finances while our kids are at school, and I'm gonna come clean. I have no idea how he's going to react. It might be bad, as in divorce. But even best case scenario, he's never going to trust me again, and I don't deserve his trust. He didn't deserve any of this. I've totally betrayed his trust, and it keeps me up at night. Part of me is ready to come clean and be honest. The other cowardly part of me wants to keep up the charade. I'm finally going to be brave and honest. I feel sick.
God, we have
Then,
to trim
1
your
week
claws
later,
so
Obi
bad,
goes on a
child.
date. So, my husband has a very high-intensity job and travels frequently. I took over the bill so nothing would get lost in the shuffle when he was away from home, and he could focus on what he needed to focus on. Insert joke here, right? I was a complete wreck last week. I barely slept, was physically anxious, and was both absolutely dreading Friday, but also couldn't wait for it to just get here already. Fortunately, my husband was on a work trip, and my kids were
Good
busy with
night.
basketball, friends, theater, etc., and were barely home. I barely ate and lost like 3 pounds that I've been stuck on. Not recommended for a diet plan. Friday, we planned to each work a half day and then have some lunch and look at our budget for the year. Tax returns were pretty decent, and my husband got a good annual bonus.
Asami,
It
yeah.
made sense to see what was what. He was already talking about throwing some money in a CD or investment, and I just felt ill. Friday comes, and he comes home with In-N-Out and a chocolate shake for me, and I just lost it. Full on sobbing. It freaked the hell out of him, and took me like 10 minutes to get myself under control. Then I spilled it all. I started with, "I love you and I'm sorry," and just let it fly. That was not my plan. I had a whole thing written down to make sure I didn't miss anything, but that didn't matter at all. To my husband's incredible credit, he just sat there in shock and listened. Then he definitely underreacted and went directly to "we'll fix it together" mode. He wanted some time to absorb what I'd said, and then wanted to work through our accounts one by one to see what was actually up, and he wanted to do this alone. Then we'd come up with a plan. I let him be and did some cleaning and laundry. After about 45 minutes, I heard him leave the house with a door slam. I wasn't about to chase him down after he asked for space to process. I did look at the computer, and it was a list of all of our outstanding balances. I assumed it would be $60,000 of debt based on my rough math, but I had forgotten a couple that I had on autopay. $96,000 in debt that he had no idea about. He messaged me a while later to say that he was going to stay at his mom's for the night and would be back to pack a bag, and that he would rather not talk yet. I respected that and made myself scarce. He came home the next day, and we manufactured some time alone to talk by sending the kids out to run errands. The oldest can drive and loves any excuse. The heart-to-heart was basically this: I screwed up royally here. But he shouldn't have checked out completely and let it get to this point. He's going to take over our finances. We're going to do a HELOC or a second mortgage for all the recurring stuff and buckle down hard. We'll review everything together at least twice a month. We'll do marriage counseling together. I agreed to absolutely every term and condition. I honestly thought that he wasn't going to come back. Things are chilly at best right now, and I'm so desperately sorry and sick over the hurt that I caused. At the same time, there's a deep sense of relief that, whatever happens, I'm no longer lying about it and everything is in the open. Maybe he'll decide that we can't move on, but I'm going to own whatever happens. So the debt here... Man, Jesus. The debt here is bad enough on its own. The lying is also bad enough on its own. But on top of all that, I think that Opie has some kind of, let's be honest, like addiction that's approaching gambling addiction levels of problematic. Unfortunately, we don't know how long this happened over. She said she's been together for 20 years, so maybe it took 20 years to pile up, which isn't as bad. But if she pulled this off in the past like 2 or 3 years, that's crazy.
I think OP should literally lose access to credit cards and debit cards and be on basically a weekly allowance system. Now, I know that some people are going to get probably triggered by that because men controlling women financially is like a sensitive topic. But to be clear, if the roles were reversed, if OP was the sensible one and the husband was the one off spending $100K, then I would also say the husband needs some kind of financial restriction. That was r/off my chest. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit episodes every single day.
Damn, I thought I was gonna finish this before the story ended. I'm so close. Wow.
Welcome to r/petty revenge, where OP gets an entire hotel arrested. Our next Reddit post is from Amateur Horologist. A few years ago, I was staying at a hotel room in suburban Detroit. I was a Navy reservist on my drill weekend. On Saturday night, this couple shows up in the adjoining room with a buddy and their probably 6-year-old kid. I think nothing of it until it's about 10 p.m. and 2 more people show up. Now it's a party. They're being obnoxious, so I knock on the door and ask them to keep it down, that I have to work in the morning. We're not even being loud. How can you hear us? Bro, I'm in the room next to you. There's a door between our rooms. I can hear you clearly. Yeah, okay. And they close the door on me. 45 minutes later, they're just as loud as they had been. I call the front desk. I hear the neighbor's phone ring. He hangs up and says, "If he thinks we're loud, wait until later." They continue the party and are obviously being loud on purpose to spite me. Eventually, I got tired enough and fell asleep at about 1 a.m. I wake up at 5:30 to get ready for work. So, I plug the alarm clock into the socket near the adjoining door, put the speaker against the door they can't open. I put the radio between stations, crank the volume to max, and set the alarm for 5 minutes after I leave the room. I pictured them panicking and furious at not being able to stop it. I would have given anything to see their reaction. Down in the comments, I'm seeing a couple of stories which has a really clever solution to this. Basically, you wake up at, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and you use the directory to call their room. And then when they answer, "Hello?" you just trash talk them. "Hey, I hope you had a good party last night. Make sure you get plenty of sleep." And then, they call you butthole and they hang up. And then you do it again and again and again. And then eventually they stop answering because they realize they can leave the phone off the hook. But if they leave the phone off the hook, that means they can't get their wake-up call to catch their very important flight. I will say though, there's probably no need to get this petty about it. I had an experience where I was in a hotel for work and I had to sleep because I had to work the next morning and the people next door were super loud and I just called the front desk. I was like, "Hey, I gotta sleep. These people aren't letting me sleep." And the front desk came up and said, "Hey, shut up or we're throwing you out." And they didn't shut up, so I called the front desk again and then they came up and were like, "Hey, we're really gonna throw you out if you don't shut up." And that shut them up. So that'll probably work as well. Or you could go nuclear like I'm Ragin' Cajun down in the comments. Something similar happened to us, but I got half the hotel arrested. Long story short, I was staying on the beach in Fort Walton and the room next to ours was party central, even on the balcony and the ground underneath it. Huge groups of young people, all drunk and loud, shouting at each other from the balcony to the ground and vice versa. At midnight, I'd had enough and called the front desk and they said they'd send security. We waited, and finally, after about 20 minutes, a security guy simply walks by the noise and commotion and keeps walking. Doesn't even speak to them. Okay, screw this. I called the local sheriff department and explained my situation. Shortly after, the cops show up and start checking IDs. Turns out they were all underage. A high school senior trip or something from Tennessee, I believe. About 20 people got cuffed and stuffed, and I got a voucher for another night's stay at that hotel. Our next Reddit post is from Dick with Short Legs. My older brother, who's 35, was stupid enough to fall for a pretty picture on a Facebook dating chat page, then chatted via Snapchat and Messenger before stupidly sending nude photos and lewd videos. The whole pickle. My stupid brother lied that he was a CEO, and the scammer, obviously missing some brain cells because looking at my brother, the grotty sink in the photo, and the clothes definitely did not scream CEO, and the scammer fell for it. Now, I love my brother. He's got the ability to be the sharpest pencil, but man, he makes some of the dumbest impulsive choices. This brother of mine is panicking, calling me with, "I'm being blackmailed, they have my nudes, and they're gonna send it to people I know if I don't give them money and I can't pay them." I told him he was an idiot, and I said that I would handle it. To be fair, he was panicking in case our mom got messaged by these people, which is fair, she's one to be feared. Our mom has accidentally received one of his dick pics meant for one of his special friends before, and if she got this, his butt
Hi,
was gonna be
Shadow.
turned inside out. The account messaged
I am. This is going to be my last video and then I'm going to bed. I've been up for way too long.
me, and I told them they were brain dead if they believed my brother had money. They said that I should pay them or they would leak the nudes. I said, do it. He's got no money to give you. I don't have money to give you. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody cares. And at most, his mother's gonna whoop his butt for being this stupid. He's a CEO and we will ruin him. Then they sent me his nudes, which I deleted because, ew. I sent a video of my face laughing and telling them they're dumb for believing him after seeing a picture of him with his prison tats and messy bathroom. I then created a group chat with two of my mates, whom I explained the situation to, and we bullied that account. They kept removing themselves, and we kept adding them back. Please stop re-adding me to this chat. Leave me alone. I said, no, you pay me $700 and we'll stop being bigger buttholes than you were. Then another account messaged me saying they were the scammer's boss and they would make good on their threat if I didn't leave them alone. So I added that person to the chat too, and we continued until the accounts went dead, which took like an hour, maybe two. They both threatened to share the nudes on Austrian chat sites, and I was like, yeah, okay, dummies. We don't know anyone in Austria, so enjoy no money and looking dumb. They had to block me and my mates because I kept re-adding them, and eventually blocked my older brother too because he told them he was gonna add them back to the chat. I was a broke bartender and out having drinks with a lot of anger. I got time to get even Steven, even if my older brother was the bloody idiot who created this mess. And my mom never found out. I should remind my older brother that he owes me a beer for being a top-notch moron of a sibling. Our next Reddit post is from that superhero guy. Back about 10 years ago, I drove 3 hours to buy a very specific car and got an hour home when the car died, luckily at a garage. I had a mechanic look at it, and he said that it was obvious the seller had botched a problem with piston rings, and it would cost more than I paid to fix it. I rang the seller to discuss it with him, but he ignored my calls, refuses to reply to texts, and I was very polite. I just really wanted to talk to him about it. I didn't send him any abuse. After a couple of days, I got fed up, and I remembered that this guy had a very old phone. One that only accepts text messages of a certain amount of characters and then had to split the text into another message. I, on the other hand, had an iPhone. So I copied and pasted the entire works of Shakespeare into a message and sent it. Apparently, it took a week before he could use his phone again without a text message interrupting him. They came every second or so anytime he turned his phone on. I eventually got a refund and he got his car back. Our next Reddit post is from Opossumsaurus. When I was a sophomore in college, my appendix ruptured, and I spent a couple of weeks in the hospital off and on dealing with various infections and surgery. During my first hospital stay, I shared a room with an older Russian woman who had just had a gastric bypass. I never said a word to her, and just kinda kept to myself watching TV and chatting with my mom when she came to visit. I felt kind of bad that I had to walk my IV pole past her to use the bathroom because I didn't want to disturb her, so I tried to be as quiet as possible and limit the number of trips I made. This lady had the habit of talking really loudly on the phone to her daughter, and since she'd heard me speaking English with my mom, I guess she assumed that I couldn't understand her. I had started learning Russian as a freshman, so I didn't understand everything she was saying, but I could gather bits and pieces. One night, she's on the phone with her daughter, and she says something to the tune of, "I don't have the room to myself anymore. I'm sharing it with this girl, and she's really ugly." Obviously, I didn't look great because I had a ruptured appendix and was just trying to stay alive at that point. And I didn't really care what she thought of me. It just irked me that she thought that it was okay to talk trash about me to her daughter in front of me just because she thought that I couldn't understand her. Plus, I was bored and wanted the satisfaction of making her eat her own words. So the next time I was wheeling my IV pole past her to use the bathroom, I put on my sweetest smile and said, "Izvinicha," which means "excuse me" in my best Russian accent. She didn't say anything to me, but she never called her daughter again while I was there because she knew that I could understand her every nasty word. Down in the comments, NP Highview says, "Similar experience here. I had learned German while working in the States for a German company. My wife and I were on vacation in Florida and were on a tour boat in the Keys when I overheard a German..."
Okay. We'll listen to that one another time. It is time for bed. I still have work in the morning. Let's see. Let's give y'all over to Undine. Undine. Good night, everyone. Thanks for chilling with me on this really random late night art stream. Good night.